have heard, starting when the surge began in late November, we started to immediately start to hear of reports of unconstitutional activity. The wild use of pepper spray on crowds, peaceful protests, the pointing of semi-automatic weapons indiscriminately, the deploying of tear gas in playgrounds and in residential neighborhoods. It has been a broad swath of unconstitutional activity.
Well, are the people of Minnesota upset about the way that the European Union Digital Services Act is affecting Elon Musk? Are people talking about that?
I'm here to talk about what is happening on the ground in Minnesota and the most significant free speech issue happening in the country today.
Well, we appreciate the fact that the ACLU is standing up for people's rights. You've seen lots of rights under attack. The freedom of speech is under attack. The right to assemble peacefully is under attack. The right to petition government for redress of grievances is under attack. The freedom of press is under attack. The Fourth Amendment right not to have your door knocked down without a search warrant based upon probable cause issued by a neutral, independent magistrate is under attack there. All of these things become the object of destruction by ICE and by the Trump administration. I just wonder if you would reflect generally on the state of freedom in your city.
I can tell you that it feels like the rule of law is under siege in Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Just an inquiry of the chair, I guess, before I ask my questions. I was wondering, is it possible, Chairman, to bring back Alejandro Mayorkas, the committee, so that I realize that the impeachment process certainly was explored and failed, but it would be great to know how he sat before this committee and deceived.
Mr. Chairman, for the point of order, is the gentleman using his time, or is this a parliamentary inquiry? I'm not quite sure what's going on.
And systematically,
his time should be running. It's 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if we could get the former secretary before the committee, because he systematically opened the border to illegals from 2021 to 2025 for a purpose, I suppose, is securing some new political base. And Minneapolis never happens if it wasn't for Biden, Mayorkas, and the elected officials that pretended that opening the border to illegal criminals for 5 years wouldn't have to be reversed and cleaned up at some point. I just think it'd be interesting if the committee could bring him back. Mr. Linehan, to my knowledge, you were the first person arrested by the UK government over tweets, but this could have happened to any American resident who uses social media to discuss politics. Isn't that right? I mean, if somebody was on their way back from the UK and suddenly arrived at Heathrow, they could be arrested too, even if they were American citizen.
I can't really speak to that, but I wasn't the first. There's been many women arrested because trans activists have reported them to the police before me. As far as America goes, I don't think they would like the publicity of arresting an American national in the UK, but we really only have that to depend on. You know, they just choose not to do it at the moment. So yeah, I think that there is a general danger of people being affected by, you know, really quite random rules on speech. Something that, like saying that there are sexes, used to be something we all believed. I believe Mr. Raskin possibly even believed it. But nowadays, people are pretending not to believe that there are two sexes. And it is it's something that destroyed my whole career in life, that I insisted on the truth. So yeah, we can't rely on the kind of mood of governments being affected by incoherent liberal orthodoxies. Sorry, it's not a great answer to your
No, it's very good. Thank you. Mr. Price, why should Americans care about Graham Linehan's arrest?
I think they should care because it shows very clearly what's happening in Europe. What we're talking about is European laws now being exported by the European Union via content moderation rules across the world. That's what is going on now. So American speech is already being affected. And in my written statement, you'll see a sample of some of the really quite draconian and bizarre laws that we have in Europe when it comes to speech. So that type of legal system is now being pressed down via these digital content moderation rules into American speech. And for Graham and for Pivey, you can see very clearly that these laws aren't theoretical. They put them into force, and it means people are arrested, interrogated, their freedom is taken away. Pivey has faced a 6-year court battle to get to this point. Graham undoubtedly is in their crosshairs for more action in the future, which means that really we just don't know, as we say, that the extent of the chilling effect is enormous in Europe. And exporting that globally via EU digital regulation is a real concern for this committee. And indeed it is, thanks to your investigations.
So a recent report by the House Judiciary Committee shows evidence that the person in charge of enforcing the Digital Services Act was also concerned about enforcement of the DMA, the Digital Markets Act. Should we be concerned that the EU regulators could be using the threat of additional fines under the DMA to compliance with its global censorship regime?
Certainly. One way to look at it, I think, is that you have to imagine this concentric circles, and at the center is speech. Speech is the greatest threat to the European Union at this point. Being openly able to criticize the various escalating crises in Europe is the worst thing that they can have. And at the moment, X, and to a growing extent, Meta, where that conversation is being had, they will use other forms of weapon outside of that to attack companies allowed. There is a huge amount of regulation over the last 10 years that they've introduced, including the Digital Markets Act, the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and it's growing all the time. So if they don't start an investigation under the Digital Services Act, they have other options. But I think at the core of this is an antipathy and hatred of free speech, which they want to globalize in order to protect their power in Europe.
Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.
There's 100 million reasons why DMA is turned to America. I mean, we know what's going on.
Mr. Chairman,
is unanimous consent?
Thank you. I've got 2 quick UCs. One is from Tech Policy Press, how the House Judiciary GOP misread Europe's 120 million euro X decision. And then I'm wondering if it's possible for us just to incorporate by reference and resubmit everything that we had at the last, since this is essentially duplicative of what we did last time and just environmentally responsible, just have it resubmitted rather than
as long as that's not a problem, I can check with our parliamentarians.
Okay.
As long as that's not a problem,
Good deal.
Without objection, we can
Thank you very
do
much.
that, and it saves us time. And now is it Mr. Natt, the gentleman from New York, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, masked federal agents are wreaking havoc in our streets and killing our citizens. The Trump administration has launched a brutal and reckless campaign to strike fear in immigrant communities, conducting warrantless raids, pulling elderly people from their homes without judicial warrants, tearing children away from their parents, and taking the lives of American citizens who are exercising the First Amendment rights to protest and to shine a light on the horrors unfolding in their communities. It's no wonder the Republican majority wants to change the subject and to distract from its utter failure to perform oversight over the Trump administration's lawless policies. But it is absolutely galling that they have called yet another hearing on alleged threats to free speech in Europe, while they stay silent about the greatest threat to free speech on either side of the Atlantic, the President of the United States. From the earliest days of his administration, the President has conducted a full-scale assault on the First Amendment, targeting news organizations, individual journalists, individual students, and even comedians who would dare challenge him or his policies. Any news organization that publishes unflattering coverage or any journalist question he does not like is at risk. He has tried to ban the Associated Press from the Oval Office because it refuses to use the absurd Gulf of America. He has sued such prestigious outlets as the BBC, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal for billions of dollars apiece because they have reported true and critical information. He is hoping that they will be intimidated and will follow the cowardly examples set by CBS and ABC's corporate owners who settled baseless lawsuits. CBS's parent was handsomely rewarded for this strategy when its multi-billion-dollar merger was approved days after settling with Trump. But the threats of CBS continued just last month when the White House secretary relayed a message directly from Donald Trump to a CBS anchor who had just conducted an interview with the president that if they did not air the interview in full, then, quote, we'll sue your ass off. Just last week, his attorney general ordered the arrest of independent journalists Don Lemon and Georgia Fort for reporting on a protest in St. Paul, Minnesota. despite a judge having previously found no probable cause to believe they had broken the law. Even Republicans who are critical of the president cannot escape his retribution. All remembers handpicked FCC chair threatening that if ABC did not take Jimmy Kimmel off the air, the FCC could, quote, do this the easy way or the hard way. And after comedian Trevor Noah made a joke about the president's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein during the Grammy Awards the other night, Trump threatened on Truth Social, he did with ABC and CBS, he would send his lawyers to sue him and, quote, have some fun with him. Between the schoolyard taunts and the childish nicknames in his post, it would be easy to dismiss this pathetic rant as a joke. But the president has shown that he's all too serious about using his authority to go after critics. And his administration has followed his lead, sometimes with deadly consequences. When Alex Preddy and Renee Good were shot in cold blood by ICE agents, it was because they were exercising their First Amendment rights to protest and monitor law enforcement. They were trying to hold these agents accountable, filming their activity, shining a light on their abuses. Administration officials rushed to paint the victims as the aggressors, smearing their names and making false claims about what happened. It is only because we have video evidence of these incidents that we all know the truth. That is exactly what is so threatening to this administration. They want to silence their critics. They will use any means to do so. They've even pressured tech companies to take down apps that allow people to alert their neighbors about ICE activity in their community. But while the Trump administration conducts a breathtaking assault on the First Amendment, we have not heard a peep from our Republican colleagues. Instead, they want to focus our attention on European regulators and online safety laws. But Republicans insist that they are the true defenders of free speech. Give me a break. Mr. Mayo, the people of Minnesota have shown us how powerful it can be when citizens bear witness to the dangerous and unlawful actions of their government. Why is that fact?
Well, our government protects our right to record, and I want to just focus in on that as a really important part of the constellation of accountability. Taking photographs and video of things that are plainly visible in public spaces is a constitutional right, and that includes police and other government officials carrying out their duties, and specifically the First Amendment right to both photograph and video police conduct occurring in both public, because it protects the right to gather information about what public officials do on public property, and because it protects the right to record such matters, and that includes the right to live stream such content.
Mr. Mayo, thank you for being here today to share with us your firsthand account of the terror that federal agents are inflicting on our communities. My time has expired. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Mayo, did the Biden administration censor people?
I'm sorry, thank you for your question. I'm here to talk about what's happening.
Question, did they do it?
On
the previous administration censor American? You're from the ACLU, you should care about that too.
We do care about free speech, but what I'm talking about here today is the most significant threat to free speech.
I got that. You said that every time the Democrats ask you a question. I want to know, did the previous administration censor American speech?
Chair, this is not, what is happening in Minnesota is not normal.
Well, here's what Mark Zuckerberg said to the committee in August of 2024. Senior officials from the Biden administration.
On what time is the chairman asking this?
My time and Clemens ticking.
He hasn't gone yet.
Oh, okay.
Could we restore the time?
The gentleman yielded back, and it's my 5 minutes. Officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. Did it happen, Mr. Mayo?
Chair, I would love to be sitting here talking about online privacy, but I'm here talking about what's on the streets
of Minnesota. Mark Zuckerberg lying to the committee when he said that?
I'm not here to speak about that.
Well, here's how it works.
I wish I was, but I'm here to speak about the most significant threat to free speech.
Mr. Price, let me ask. Here's how it works. Day 3 of the Biden administration, they send a tweet from the White House to Twitter, take down this tweet ASAP. It was a tweet from RFK Jr., and it was about COVID. So that's how it started, specific tweets. Then it progressed to policy. We have all kinds of documents we got in our investigation last Congress which show the policy. Change your policy. Leadership asked misinformation policy, a couple of teams on product policy to brainstorm some additional policy levers. So then it was broader. First, it's just a specific tweets. Oh, we got to stop this tweet from influential people. Then it's a broader policy. And now we got foreign governments trying to impact American speech. And it's so pervasive that you have individuals who put a Bible verse up that they're coming after. That's the progression this takes. Is that accurate, Mr. Price?
Yes, sir.
That's how it goes. One tweet. We don't like RFK Jr. Oh, by the way, everything RFK Jr. said in that tweet was true. Back to Mr. Kiley's point. So many things they said to take down were true. I bet Mr. Linehan would agree with that too. That's how it goes. Sometimes the thing they want to censor is the truth. That's how this works. This is, oh, by the way, Mr. Linehan, were there cameras there? I'm just curious. How about you, Doctor? When you were charged, how was that? How did that happen? Oh, let me go back for a second. I was curious about this too, Mr. Linehan. When you were apprehended at Heathrow Airport, what did the police officers say? What did they say to you? Did they say, were they coming in aggressive? Or did they say, hey, man, we're sorry. This is ridiculous. We got to do our, How did that go down?
I got that impression that they felt a bit embarrassed about it, yeah. I mean, I think basically the UK police are now in this situation where they are trying to contain every problem that Keir Starmer doesn't want to talk about. And that's all they do. Yeah. We can't get burglaries investigated and rape in prison, but we can get the police.
They can arrest a comedian in the United States who's not even a UK citizen. They can do, and the police just like, oh, dude, sorry about this. We gotta do it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an
My guess is it was the same with you, Doctor. Is that right? I mean, did they say? Maybe I'm wrong, but that'd be my guess.
Yes, my process started over 6 years ago, and there was a pride parade in Finland, and my church, the leadership of the church, decided to support that parade, also financially.
Yeah.
And it was a shock to me, and I was afraid that this would undermine people's trust on Bible. Then it is not only about marriage or sex, but about salvation of people. And that's why I wrote Twitter update, where I took a photo from the Bible and made a question to the leadership of the church.
Yep.
After that, some citizen made a criminal complaint about the Twitter update, and police
did
started
the police come to your house? Did the police come to your house in charge? How did it work?
The police started to investigate the case. Yes. And I was then interrogated by police in a small police room, which was a very unreal situation because just some years before I was a Minister of Interior. And then I was sitting there, the Bible was on the table, and the police was asking me very theological questions.
If I could, I just about out of time, Doctor, but I just want to say this. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's where it progresses to. Specific tweets, policy, foreign governments getting involved in American speech, and so focused on it that they're willing to come after a member of parliament who simply posted a Bible verse. And they know it's wrong, as evidenced by the police just said, like, dude, we're sorry, we gotta do it. They know it's wrong. And we can't even get the guy from the ACLU to admit that the previous administration censored speech. State of affairs. That is the state of affairs. The fact that the guy from the ACLU can't say, oh yeah, they did it. Mark Zuckerberg said it. We got all kinds of evidence of it, and it's so pervasive. They're even going after people, nice people like the doctor, who simply put a Bible verse online.
Mr. Chairman,
I yield back.
Could I introduce for unanimous consent the Supreme Court decision, Justice Barrett's opinion?
Sounds like you're doing that right now.
If that's all right. It's Murthy versus Missouri, rebutting everything that you just said about what happened in the last administration.
Without objection. Now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Price, you would agree that a free press is a hallmark of freedom of speech, would you not?
Yes.
And you would have a problem if reporters and reporting organizations were barred from government offices and officials if they did not agree beforehand that they would allow those officials to approve their publications or their stories. You would agree that that would be against principles of free speech, correct?
In responding to the I believe, theoretical question, I would...
Well, it's actually not even a theoretical question. It happened about a year ago, just days into this administration. The Department of Defense kicked out news organizations that refuse to agree to allow their stories to be pre-approved in order to have access to the government offices and those officials. I mean, that actually happened. And this committee has had no hearings on that, but yet it would call you over here, and you agree with me that that is an impediment towards free speech when the press does not have access to government officials. And you would agree with that, correct? Yes or no?
Well, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Okay, well, no, it's not complicated at all. What do you think about that, Mr. Mayel? You would agree that government officials should be subject to the media, correct?
Yes, I mean, I believe in a free press as protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, and this committee also has not had any hearings about this administration issuing a search warrant to obtain the communications devices and computers and records of a Washington Post reporter. That was something that was egregious, but this committee is silent. Calls you all from overseas about First Amendment issues here in America, but yet is failing to look at what this current regime is doing to stifle free speech when it comes to free press, which, Mr. Price, you agree is a hallmark of freedom of speech. I mean, why is it that this committee is wasting time because of a $125 million assessment against Elon Musk, Britain, for violating its rules? I mean, this man is worth $700 billion, and you all over here talking about $150 million, and this committee is wasting its time trying to protect Elon Musk from $125 million when we have our First Amendment that is under attack in this country. You know, we've said something about it. News organizations being sued by the billionaire Donald Trump for saying something that he disagrees with. That's when your top official is suing news organizations. Doesn't that create an impediment to the exercise of the First Amendment, Mr. Yes or no?
Sir, you're very blessed you have a First Amendment. We wish we had that on our side of the Atlantic.
Well, shouldn't we be talking about those issues here in this committee rather than bringing you all, importing you all over from Great Britain to talk about what's going on in your country when we who set the standard for the First Amendment are sitting idly by while it's burned and crushed and shattered? Isn't that ironic? Don't you find some irony in that?
I think it's all the things you described are ultimately
and
under the right to appeal to court.
This past weekend, 2 members of the press arrested. Don't you find that troubling, Mr. Price? In America, don't you see that our First Amendment is under attack? Our freedom of speech is under attack in this country?
You have a court system, hopefully, that will vindicate it. We don't have that, unfortunately.
Well, you know, the court system, we have a Supreme Court that is owned lock, stock, and barrel by the billionaire president. That's some very difficult problems for American democracy moving forward. At this 250-year mark of the Declaration of Independence from the monarchy, which I'm sure to appreciate.
As an Irishman, I certainly do.
Sir, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
You going to have one of these every time?
Well, I'm struggling to keep up with the onslaught here. This will go quickly.
All right.
My UC, Twitter kept entire database of Republican requests to censor posts. That is February 8th, 2020. Rolling Stone. Trump asked Twitter to take down derogatory tweet from Chrissy Teigen, whistleblower. Trump's censorship and control campaign threatens press freedom, FCC commissioner says. And finally, FBI raids home of Washington Post reporter in highly unusual and aggressive move. That's in The Guardian, January 14th, 2026.
Without objection. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you. I'm sure Mr. Raskin will cut me off exactly at 0, unlike his own people that go well beyond that. Mr. Merrill, would you agree that one of the tenets of the First Amendment, the most important part in the ACLU in its history, is the ability to seek the enforcement of it in court? Without the support of the court, the First Amendment is moot as far as its enforcement. Is that correct?
I mean, I think that accountability is a constellation of things.
No. Look, I know I'm a Republican and I know you want to be evasive. The ACLU has sued, probably in federal court, more than any other entity to enforce the First Amendment in the past, including some very important things, and other constitutional. So, the access to the court is how we enforce the First Amendment here in the United States, how we enforce what is right and wrong. Is that correct?
I don't want to, I'm going to answer the question, but what I want to say is that the courts are one way to seek redress and a cause of action for a First Amendment violation. Accountability is more than just that.
Okay.
Accountability is
I hear your answer.
A number of different
I hear
things.
your answer, but you
so
said
it's not just
I hear you, but I heard nothing when we had this tirade about a man seeking to be made whole when he felt he was sued inappropriately because of $5 million from the gentleman from Georgia isn't much money. I heard you, and I hear you loud and clear. You think it's okay, struck justice here in America, to in fact use the First Amendment as a sword instead of a scalpel. And I'll give you, you said that people forced to flee the country of their choosing, flee the country they call home. Were you talking about people who came here illegally? Yes. Were you talking about people who came here illegally and then may have gotten temporary protective status? Yes. So look, it's my time, and if I ask you a question, I'll ask you a question. The fact is, you've come here that was about whether or not the First Amendment should have global reach, whether somebody who says something in America who's a citizen of another country can be arrested in a third country because they don't like what was said in America. And instead of being here to testify for that, when the chairman asks you a question, you go dumb. Shame on the ACLU. You didn't protect the First Amendment under the last 4 years, and now you come here with the hypocrisy of all time to pretend that the ACLU hasn't become an arm of the Democratic Party. It hasn't become...
No administration has gotten a free pass from the ACLU.
Yeah, well, the last one got a hell of a free pass. So, I'm going to ask the other folks a question, which is a question. I'm the vice chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and although this is Judiciary Committee, clearly the question of whether we can work together to enforce it is important. For each of the witnesses who came here to answer questions related to the hearing, if the United States uses its global reach, power, and influence to enforce that when the First Amendment occurs, when speech occurs in the United States,